Guys, we made it. Berlin, right here. 6 miles done this morning. We're training for the High Rocks. Life was amazing. We started in Dubai, ended up in Serbia afterwards, and then slowly made our way north. And we're here in Berlin. This is actually the Berlin Wall. But I want to tell you guys a story. About a recent sales call that I took with a prospect that didn't go through. And so during the beginning of my agency journey, I was cold calling, like most of you are. Like the eventual progression of how you're going to do things. You're going to cold call, and then you're going to automate and have someone else do it for you. But I was cold calling, and so I came across this guy who was super interested. He was interested in what we had to offer. His business was slowing down, and so we hopped on the sales call. And I was still in the beginning. I wasn't good at sales. I didn't really know how to not let a prospect kind of dictate the flow of the conversation, or how to ask the right questions. And so we had a conversation, doing the best I could, you know. And towards the end of the conversation, during the discovery, which I just made into a 2-step close on the same call, if that makes sense. I tried to close him then. Don't do that. I've obviously learned a mistake from it. And he was like, oh, you guys are all the effing same. I don't really understand why you're different. And to be fair, I kind of sucked at sales back then, and we're still learning to this day. But I kind of lost him over the course of answering some of his questions, or not asking the right questions. And 3 months later, I reached back out, because you always follow up with your leads. You always follow up with your leads. And so I reached back out, and I was like, hey man, how's it going? It's been 3 months. And he just went completely ghost for that 3 months. But when we did catch up, I was able to get him onto a sales call, because I was a lot better at sales. And so we did the discovery again 3 months later, and we just had the sales call roughly 2 days ago. Didn't close them, but the story is this. We start out the discovery, you ask him what's going on, what happened in the past, where are you at, where you want to go, why is this important to you now? And so I asked him a few questions, and basically what he was telling me is this. He wants to grow the company. He's not getting the workflow that he wants to. He wants to have his father-in-law come and do the estimates for him. Him and his business partner want to be the dominant players in their neighborhood, and talking about all these dreams and ambitions and everything that he envisions for his company, which is great. But the thing is this. It's exactly what he told me 3 months ago, and nothing changed. So you see, reality is not congruent with what you're actually believing. And people don't realize this, but this is the power of sales calls. Your job is to get the prospect to realize that their situation is not where they want to be. And the reason for that is most likely because of their identity and personality and who they are as a person. Now, I'm not saying they're lazy or whatever, but sometimes people just don't take action. And so it's our job to make them discover that through questioning. And so what you have to do on the sales calls is label them with the characteristic traits of someone who is successful and capable of making the decision to improve his company, to improve his situation. And you have to label them with the identity, with the characteristic traits, like hard worker, someone who tackles their problems head on, who never waits, who always does right by the people, by their customers. And you have to label him with these traits, because when the price is dropped, when the pitch is done correctly, it doesn't come down to whether or not your price is right or what you actually do. Honestly, it comes down to the identity of the person. Because when you start to handle the objections, like, oh, you told me this, and this, nothing has changed for 3, 4, 5 months, and even beforehand, and you're telling me you're this type of person, but the person who is actually capable of making this decision isn't what you think you are. And again, guys, this is true power. When you label them with the identity of the person who is capable of making the decision, and that's someone who's successful and their dream version, right, of themselves. So you have to label them with that. And then when the price is dropped and the objections start to come in, you tell them, oh, you told me this, because the two most powerful words on a sales calls is you said this, and you have to label that person with the identity traits of someone who is successful. And you always say, you said this before, but that type of person but that type of person is capable of making this decision now, and you're telling me something different. So it's not congruent with how they're living their life. And you have to find the inconsistencies throughout the discovery. Who are they saying that they are, but who are they actually? And so seeing through people, cutting through the BS and getting straight to the point is something you have to identify through questioning, through direct questioning. And that's the most powerful thing, guys. It is extremely powerful to do that and to have the right questions on the discovery. And so that's what happens. And people get mad, right? People get mad, honestly, when they start to discover the truth about their situation. And it's them realizing that they aren't who they say they are. And on these sales calls, again, it's our job to do that through questioning. So for this guy, nothing changed over the course of the last 3 months, because he was telling me about the exact same thing that we spoke about 3 months ago. And even then, beforehand, it was probably a couple months or whatever it was beforehand, nothing changed. And so, quite honestly, this might be a hard take, but some people are honestly just helpless. But also at the end of the day, it is our job and our responsibility to actually take blame for not closing them, right? So it is my job at the end of the day, and I do take responsibility for not getting through. Though he did say he was gonna pay the deposit and wanted to continue, but again, guys, words are cheap, actions speak louder than words. And it's also about how you frame things too. So one of the most important things that I could teach you guys is the framing of, you're not just selling a service, you're building a relationship. And building a relationship is the most important thing. Read the book, The Boring Letters, and the gentleman who wrote it, he has changed so many things in my company when it comes to astonishing your customer, actually caring about the quality of your work. Guys, look at this one. Come on. What are we doing? Berlin. What's up, Berlin? Talk to me, Berlin. Let's see, I'm gotta grab some food real quick, guys. But astonish your customer with showing that you actually care about your service and product. And that, and wow them, right? And wow them to death. Wow them to death and make them realize that they are so glad to have invested in you as a person, you in your service. And you have to wow them to death, because when you work on one person, it's going to multiply into so many people. And just like referrals, the way it works, it takes off like wildfire if you put the work in, if you show that you're actually dedicated to your service and your cause, and that you actually care about the people who you work with. But this is all separate from the sales call with the gentleman. So I hope the hack though with the sales calls is this: label them with the character traits of someone who's successful, so that when the objections come later on, you say, you said this, but that person is not making this decision. And so that's power, because when they see when nothing's congruent in their messaging as to who they are, they're gonna get mad, of course. But for those that do continue, those are logical people that have a brain. I'm not saying this guy doesn't have a brain, but they're a little bit more logical, and they're likelier to go with your product and service. So that's that with that. And then again, when it comes to actually building relations, you're not just selling your service or product, you're building a relation with your client. And this is long-term, because again, guys, the work is gonna work on you more than you work on it. You have to build relations long-term. And I hope this was helpful to you guys, because I'm just trying to figure it out just like you guys are. So we're here now, and I hope this was of value to you guys. And again, guys, we are here in Berlin training for the High Rocks. We're gonna grab some food right now, but that's that. All right, peace, guys.